Senator Ricketts, you're up.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all of our nominees, and congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for your willingness to serve our great nation. Mr. Waltz, I'm just going to go pick up with where Senator Merkley left off. You mentioned that Germany has triggered the snapback sanctions. My team was just doing some quick research to try and find that. We couldn't find any mention of that right offhand, but it is hugely important that the E3 get those snapback sanctions. You know, the air campaign by Israel and the successful attack by, as you mentioned, our bombers to be able to hit those key nuclear facilities was really, really important in hampering Iran's ability to have a nuclear enrichment program. But it's not the end of the story. We've got a lot more work to do. Iran is still out of compliance with their obligations under the JCPOA, and they are not allowing the EA inspectors to be able to get into those facilities, so they're in violation. It's absolutely critical that the E3 do those snapback functions. Will you commit to working with them to push them to get that snapback in place? And as you mentioned, that deadline of October 18th, because of the cure period you were also mentioning, it's really more like September where they really have to get this done. But as UN Ambassador, if you're confirmed, will you push them to get this done?
Thank you, Senator. And if my mention of Germany was from open source reporting, so if that was an error, then you know that was.
Well, it's good news if it's true.
If it's actually, but we've also
sure it happens.
Spoken to the United Kingdom and France as well, and I have full confidence that they will work with us. We've had these conversations literally through the transition and over the last 6 months. The second executive order the president signed was to reinstitute maximum pressure on Iran, but you raise a fantastic point in that we need to get those inspectors back in there with the IAEA, and it is obviously notable that the June report from the IAEA was the first censure of Iran for its non-compliance in quite a long time.
And one of the things Iran always says is they want this program for peaceful means, yet there's no reason they need to have an enrichment program to have a civilian nuclear program. 23 other nations are doing it without having enrichment facilities. We need to continue to push that the only way we can guarantee they cannot get a nuclear weapon is if they do not have an enrichment facilities. Would you agree?
I would, as both the president and the secretary have said, Senator, and I think the most amazing aspect of this episode was that the president truly sought diplomacy first. He took bold and decisive action along with our ally Israel, and then immediately returned the situation right back to a ceasefire to again engage in diplomacy. So when President Trump says he puts diplomacy first, I've seen it firsthand, and I would be honored if confirmed to continue to participate in it.
Well, let's talk about one of our best friends in the Middle East. Certainly is Israel. And you mentioned in your opening remarks the anti-Semitism that is just rampant in the United Nations. And I think you gave the stat that there were more resolutions targeting Israel than all other nations combined by double. And it's just stunning what the United Nations has done. So as the UN ambassador, if you're confirmed, what specific actions can you take to shut down this anti-Semitism at the UN and the anti-Israeli basis? What's going on?
Well, thank you, Senator. And it is pervasive. I could probably spend the rest of this hearing, sadly, highlighting the anti-Semitic activities, one aspect of which is known as Article 7 in the Human Rights Council, that Israel is the only nation with a standing mandate to highlight its, quote, human rights abuses every single meeting, and it's been going on for decades. I mentioned the number of resolutions just this year. We're on track for that same type of disparity in 2025. I support the Secretary's call for sanctions on the Special Rapporteur, Francesca Albanese. I think she is the poster child for anti-Semitism in the UN. And I think we have to take a step back and address and work with both Israel and work with our allies on why this continues to happen. I understand the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, but I will say over and over again, if Hamas would lay down their arms, if they would surrender, if they would stop sacrificing their own people, the fighting would stop today. And I am confident in working with Israel in that regard.
Well, I think your last point was spot on, and I have seen nothing out of the UN calling on Hamas to surrender, because that is exactly how this conflict would end, and the people in Gaza would be able to start looking for a better way of life once that terrorist organization surrenders. So push the countries of the UN to come down very clearly that they can best serve the people in Gaza by getting Hamas to surrender. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well said.